Okay, it is 5 o'clock and time for us to start the open house for critical issues in criminal justice. And I'm going to spend some time going over the requirements for this course and just make sure that you follow these instructions. Instructions should be saved so that you will be able to refer to them throughout the quarter. So let's go ahead and start with sharing my screen. Okay, as you can see, this is the course home, and it gives instructor information at the top. Gives the phone number that you can always reach me at 630-660-8480. And my comment is very true. Feel free to phone, text, or email me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. I'll let you figure that one out. And it's not a joke. It's not something that I say in jest. I've been doing it for years, and students who take me up on it, I respond to them pretty fast. Then under the bottom, there are additional course material. This box contains information that can help you to perform well in this class and in other classes as well. But I want to remind you that you need to conduct research for all papers. That means the sole source of your papers should not be the textbook. You'll lose 2 points for failure to conduct research. That's in addition to what's in your grading rubric. So you want to make sure that you abide by that and you're on notice of that. And I'll remind you why you lose those points in my comments. All written assignments, I said all should be in APA format. APA format. That means citations in the body of the paper and references at the end. Now, your citations should be throughout your paper because it should support statements that you provide in your paper, and that should be also included on your reference page. And always provide a cover sheet as well. And so I provide some resources to help you, and you can refer to these resources. Don't be afraid to refer to them. They'll assure you of student success. If you need a tutor, and I want to talk about that just very briefly, tutoring is not something that's for students who are struggling. Sometimes tutoring can also help those who are doing well to make sure they could do even better. I gave you some information that I included in this class so that you hit the links and it gives you information about tutoring help. Very, very important. And then you can how to connect, assignments or projects that you have questions about studying or writing papers, everything. And then finally, our schedule for classroom sessions. Today is our open house, which is Thursday, 5 to 6 p.m. And starting next week, week 1, we will have live lectures that take place every other Thursday beginning a week from today. That'll be in weeks 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And our lectures will last approximately an hour, maybe even less. But the point of the matter is it's beneficial for you to take time to attend and participate in them because they will help you to perform well. So now let's go to the other side of the page. Again, I have information about APA assistance in here as well. You could see that if you were to let's see. gives you where it's found, the link, guides at rasmussen.edu, and the writing process as well. Okay. Now, to help you with this, we also have a one-sheeter PDF that you can refer to, and I would suggest you click on the link. This is what it looks like. And you can download this, and it gives you answers to student support with your writing guide, your librarian issues, student success guide, homepage, and then, of course, your advisors. So that's your five-fold approach to success. And so we have that included. That actually covers this same information up here. That's why it's not showing completely. But you will be able to access it this way. Again, as I tell students, don't just try to jump and do the assignments. Make sure you follow. And then this one, your welcome announcement that I sent to you earlier, and yesterday you had access to it. And if you were to make sure that you follow all of the steps in here, as well as, again, reminding you about our lectures every other Thursday, 5 to 6 p.m., beginning the 13th. And in our lectures, we'll be using videos and other materials. And then the link for the lecture is given as well, several places. And it's on the course homepage over here. It's also in the course calendar. It's also in all of the announcements as well. So it's just one. So you want to save that. And then this tells you all of the things that you should do to be successful in this class. So now let's look at our week 1 announcement. Let's decrease that and make this more. Okay, so now this week, critical issues in criminal justice today are covered. You would read chapters 1 to 3 of your text, Visions for Change, Crime, and Justice in the 21st Century. Also, there's a section, Critical Issues in Technology, bring solutions and problems. And then I will cover each of these topics beginning in live lectures, but I'm covering them also today. So each week you'll see an announcement that's like this, and you need to make sure you pay attention to the highlighted yellow. Then your discussion post. Now notice discussion posts. Your initial post, the school originally said Thursday, but I gave it to Friday, 11:59 p.m. But starting next week, initial posts are due on Tuesdays. So make sure you note that, because if your discussion posts initially are posted on Fridays after this week, they're going to be marked late, and you're going to lose a point for each day that your discussion post is late. That is how I grade discussion posts. And then I also gave you a rubric for the quantity and the quality of the discussion posts, which I read very carefully. Then your reply posts due by Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do encourage you well, since this class has 2 students in it, you'll be replying to each other's post or either my post, one or the other. So you want to make sure you do that. Finally, the written assignments, technology changing criminal justice, also criminal justice issues, and then introduction to the project. And we're going to cover all of that. And then the final part of it refers to what's taking place right now. And then at the end, there's a motto. My statement: finish strong, start strong, finish strong. And reminding you that adversity is the springboard to success. You should oftentimes find yourself going through things and I understand that, and I'll talk about that at the very end. Okay, so that's the preliminary stuff for you. Now let's take a look at the syllabus. The syllabus, of course, has my name, my phone number, email address. They have richard.wright too, but if you send it to richard.wright without a 2, I'll get it also, or if you send it with a 2, I'll still get it. This is a reminder of what I told you earlier on the home page, that you're required to conduct research and that you produce 2 points, and also reminding you of the APA requirements in all written papers. So there's no excuse for not knowing the requirements for APA and those various sources. Okay, we're going to talk about Grammarly in a little bit and how that works too. So your course description. Now let's go right down to the requirements, the grading. Let's take a look at the grading. Okay, total of 610 points. That will get you a perfect score. Your discussion, 220 points. That is timely discussions satisfying the rubric that I presented to you, as well as I said, being on time. You get 10 points for each initial post, 10 points for each reply post, up to the first 2. Up to the first 2. And so if you do additional, which you really won't be doing too much in this class because there's only 2 students in here, but if there were other students, then I would encourage you to do more discussion posts. So that constitutes over 1/3 of your grade. Your written assignment, not to be confused with your project, but your written assignment is 150 points and 24, nearly 25% of your grade. Your course project, 210 points, a little over 34% of your grade. Your ACAT, which is a test that you'll get in week 10, is not graded. It's a small percentage, but you'll receive 30 points for just completing the assessment. It is not graded, but it is a requirement. So you want to get all of that done. There have been students that sometimes get right to the ACAT, and then they have problems, and they'll even ask me questions about the test. Let me say up front, I have never seen the test. I don't have access to the test. It's based on a assessment of the program. They don't provide that information to us as faculty. We do encourage you, though, to do as well as you can on the test. And don't worry about the grade. Just complete the test. You'll get your 30 points no matter what your score is. So now let's start right here. My goal is to have every student to be in A minus Bs. One thing I will tell you up front, never call me and ask me, what does it take to get a C in my class? I won't answer that question for you because I don't believe in teaching students how to be C students. My goal is to prepare and produce students that are A and B students. My goal is A students. I love to see all of my students on the Dean's List and the Honor Roll because they did well in this class or any class that I teach, and I maintain that position. It is very important, if you have trouble with assignments, that you contact me. I already expressed I have an open door policy in terms of communication. Don't be hesitant. Don't say, well, I didn't want to bother you. Well, as soon as you do it, it bothers me. And then when you come to a point of a question about you don't understand something and you don't ask, I can't help you. I'm not going to know that you're having a problem because you're not doing. If you run into some health issues, let me know. I need to know. I need to know. But, you know, it's not going to be like minor health issues. I'm very, very flexible when it comes to working with students, but I do encourage students to keep the line of communication open. I am one professor that believes in communication between faculty and students on a regular basis. That's why I post that 25th hour of the day. I am the only professor that does that, and I enjoy communicating with my students. I even end up hearing from my students late at night, so no problem. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about the transferable skills aspect, which is very important for this course as well as every course that you take here at this college. That's one of the great things about the college is that you'll be able to identify each of these skills that are being demonstrated in your assignments as they're laid out in the modules to satisfy your preparations for these necessary transferable skills. First one is being able to communicate. You must be able to communicate written and orally in proper form. Very important in all fields, but especially in criminal justice, because no man is an island. You work in teams, and you find yourself working very, very much so with other individuals. Critical thinking is of the utmost importance. A lot of students don't quite understand. We don't want you to do just research and copy the sources and then a little bit about the issues. Our most important thing that we're looking for in your written assignments is critical thinking. We want to see how you respond to all of the situations and circumstances of the questions. I want to basically see how you handle the issues in your written assignments. I want to see citations. I want to see references. And one of the tools that we use to measure critical thinking is a tool called Grammarly. Each of you have a Grammarly account. It's free. It's under Resources tab. And if you have problems with that, then you want to make sure that you let me know, or either contact a tutor, and they'll be able to let you know, or either the Library and Learning Center team. We're here to help you to be able to use that tool. But what we want to do is make sure that you understand that your papers should be able to be read, recognizing it is your work, and that any sources that you use, you have credit for. But I'm more concerned with your analysis of your written assignments. So, therefore, I recommend to every student that you take the time to do as I do. When I grade your papers, I run them through Grammarly, and I see what percentage of information from the sources that you research are included. If it gets very high, I will bring that to your attention. And then if I keep saying it, I will keep bringing it to your attention until finally I may have to report it. And we don't want you to have problems with that. It'll already adversely affect your grade because the percentage will go down. What percentage am I talking about? Should be 10 to 15%. But I've even allowed students to go up to 25% and then point it out to them. But my idea for you is this. Why do we want you to? This is something that's going to happen in the real world. Critical thinking is the way that all employers utilize their employees. They want employees to be able to think on their feet, to be able to be creative, and not copycats, and not just, like I said again, research, copy, and pasting. Okay? Then diversity. Recognizing the fact that people come from all backgrounds, people are going to have all kinds of positions. Everybody's not going to agree with your position. It's okay. It's okay. Don't be afraid to put your position out there. Respect the other person's position, even if you don't agree. I have a number of things that students have posted. And if I respond back to them in a discussion post or either questions they'll ask, I will not try to ridicule them or put them down. I will recognize sometimes that it's because of the diverse background that we are from that sometimes a person doesn't understand. And I have to work hard to meet the student. But we are a school that has a diversity and inclusion panel or council, which I'm a part of. And so I encourage diversity. I encourage everybody's views to be respected. Then teamwork. You'll be working in teams oftentimes. It's hard working in teams in lectures when you only have one or two students who come. But the point of the matter is teamwork is going to be ever so important. You probably already noticed if you're employed anywhere, there are meetings and individuals take the workload and divide it by certain areas and perform at their expertise or whatever area that they volunteer in, putting together and you become successful. These are habits that we're developing. And then ethics. We certainly want to produce ethical students. In criminal justice, ethics is very, very important. I will be commenting throughout the course of the next 11 weeks about some instances and cases that I'm familiar with where law enforcement individuals were not very ethical. And some have resulted in criminal prosecutions. So if you develop the idea of being ethical in school, when you leave school, you will be ethical. Generally, we say that ethics though should start at home, but the point of the matter is that we don't want you to be an embarrassment in your profession. We want you to be successful. And the most ethical individuals, professionals, will succeed and go higher. Professional responsibility, that goes without saying. That means meet the standards of the profession. Make sure that you keep yourself up to date. And that's what we try to do here in this school, is to help you learn to respect the rules, such as our academic integrity policy. We ask you also to understand the rules for assignments, dates, and the rubrics that we lay out for you. These are things to help you to gain a better education and educational experience. And then finally, information literacy. There's information all over the place. You have to be able to utilize sources that you use. I will say this, that in your research, we have plenty. We have so much information in our library and learning centers that will help you with your research. And I've given you links to that earlier. And I will say this, never use Wikipedia as a source. It is very unreliable. So anyway, that's it on transferable skills. Students will have the opportunity to demonstrate these outcomes in a number of courses across the curriculum. And I really would say that pretty much in every course. So I won't go over the attendance policy. You could read that. I will say this regarding the late assignment submission policy, is that it says assignments may be submitted up to 7 days after the deadline. Your assignments are generally due. I already gave you the discussion post due dates, but your written assignments are due on Sundays. We'll go over the calendar in just a few minutes. And that, let's say, for example, if you submit your assignment 7 days later, it really would be a 0. But even if I didn't give you a 0, let's say I took 10% off for each day it's late. So let's say if I took 10% off of 100, so that's 70 points. So your grade would be 30, which is a failing grade. So your work is late, and I will deduct those points. Now, in some instances, students may be asked to complete alternate assignments. No, that's not going to happen. So I don't do that. I tell you up front, there's students who say to me, can I do some additional work? I said, how can you do some additional work when you haven't finished the work that you were already assigned? There's no such thing. And I have 91 students, so I cannot start that policy because it will have a snowball effect, and it's unfair to me and my time as well. Online discussions conclude at the end of the current week. So what that means is that if a discussion is completed, and the discussion is technically completed after Saturday, but what I do is if you post a reply post on Sunday, I will still take off 1 point. But what I'm saying to you is that if you post an initial post, you will lose the points, and it won't be acceptable. If you miss a week and you want to come back and do makeup work, and I allow you to do so after I make my next comments, it doesn't include discussion posts. Discussion posts must be contemporaneously with the discussion week. And it makes sense. It's the same way as if you were in a class and you're sitting there and you miss class that week and you come in the next week. We're not going to spend time discussing in detail what we discussed that week that you missed. And that's pretty much the situation here. Finally, it says instructors may waive the late penalty or time frame. So we may waive it in case of extenuating circumstances as determined by the faculty, which means me. I am the one who determines whether or not it's extenuating. I'm pretty fair with that, pretty flexible, but I could see a pattern coming and I won't do it. What I will not do is I have students who have had in the past, they've gotten so far behind weeks, like we've gotten, for example, to the 6th week, and they want to know, can they turn in assignments week 1 through 5? And I said, no, you can't do that. Because the idea of the assignments is to, week by week, build your learning. And now what you're doing is cramming, and that's not what your educational experience should be. It doesn't work like that. But I do understand that there are extenuating circumstances. I've had a number of them. I'm not going to give examples, but I tell you, I've worked very well with most students. There has been only a few instances when I have not. Okay, and so that's about it. Okay, then we got to complete grades. I don't give a lot of those out. Academic integrity policy. You need to take time to read that and make sure that you satisfy that. Now, be aware that the plagiarism hit in Grammarly is not saying that you violated one of these points. Remember what I said earlier. A plagiarism hit in Grammarly means that you don't have enough critical thinking. So let's say, for example, if you have a one-page paper that you do. In your one-page paper, if 1/3 of your paper is sources that you research, and 2/3 of your paper involve critical thinking, that's not a good idea. Your critical thinking should override the sources that you discover from your research. Now, let me say this: if I have a one-page paper, don't be afraid if you go over 2 pages or 1 page to submit it. That's not a problem. The only problem comes about is when I don't think that you actually have applied yourself as you're capable of being able to do in the written assignment. And I'm very good at working with students concerning that issue. And that's it for the syllabus. Syllabus is a contract. We don't change it. The school sets it out. and we work with that as a guideline. Okay, now, before we get to the module, because we're halfway through, I want to go to the course calendar, which each of you should be familiar with. I refer to in my announcements the fact that if you want to have a question answered, go to your course calendar. And notice that it tells you your reading assignment, and if you click on it and open it up, it breaks it down specifically. And then your open house that we're in right now, your initial post, and like I said, that's due tomorrow by 11:59 p.m., and then your reply post. Now, then your written assignment, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes in more detail, but I point out to you what the topic is. I point out to you when it is due. I point out to you the APA requirements and that it requires 2 pages. You will lose points for not satisfying that as well. Repeating the facts does not satisfy the requirement. I'm more interested in your critical thinking. You'll see me talk about critical thinking a lot. I'm a big proponent of it. And then your details in Blackboard about the expectations of the project. I actually presented to you a rubric earlier that I sent to you telling you about your critical issues. And then notice what happens then starting next week is your reading assignment. Then notice your initial posts are now on Tuesday starting next week. Then you'll have your first live lecture, not different from the open house. The difference is that we won't be going over a lot of the things that I'm going over today. We'll go right into the expectations that you have, answer any questions that you may have, and then go on and review the assignments for that particular week. And then your reply post, and then your following answer. Okay, so now let's take a look at your assignments once again, one last time. Your discussion post gives the topic, and then your written assignment, technology, has changed the way police do their jobs. Unfortunately, criminals are always using technology in their crimes. In a 2-page essay, explore one way in which technology has changed crime or crime fighting. There is a case that is Gardner versus the U.S. that is pending before the United States Supreme Court. I am going to send you that case. You can look at it. It involves cell phones, and it's under review by the Supreme Court. So that might be applicable for this week, but I'm going to send that to you right after I finish this lesson. Let me make a note to send it to you. Gardner, the U.S. Okay, very good. Okay, and so anyway, that's your written assignment, and I've already told you the parameters on that. Okay, so now let's get back to the actual lesson content. Objectives are given at the very beginning, and it tells you what we expect to cover in a particular week. Then again, it repeats your assignments as well. So we talk about critical issues. What are some critical issues that you can consider? What are critical issues? These are just some suggestions for critical issues that you can consider for your project. This is not an all-inclusive list, but these are things that are being talked about or dealt with in criminal justice today, and you can look at these. Terrorism, of course, both international and domestic, the death penalty, juvenile justice, assisted suicide, the war on drugs, security versus civil liberties, technology in prisons, gangs, identity theft, community policing, corrections as punishment or rehabilitation, and gender and diversity discrimination in criminal justice. So these are just a few of the issues that you can consider in terms of your project that you're going to complete. But again, you don't have to use these, okay? So let's look at some critical issue questions for a minute here. And these are little exercises that you'll run across, and I'm recommending that you do them. Complete the following questions about critical issues, and it's not graded, but it helps you. The following person is responsible, so you should learn who's who for determining the extent of injuries present and the cause of death. Is it the investigating officer? Is it the medical examiner? Is it the forensic toxicologist? Or is it the forensic biologist? Some people can get really tricked in this one. It's B. The investigating officer relying on the report is the medical examiner. And the medical examiner does all the things, even dealing with forensics and all of those things. Next. All of the following are professional forensic organizations except, and even I get tripped up on these, but if you do your reading, you'll see it: American Academy of Forensic Sciences, Forensic Sciences Foundation, American Society of Criminologists, American College of Forensic Examiners. Every time I do this, I get the wrong one the first time, but let's take a look. What's a professional forensic organization? So let's try this one. I don't think that's going to be right. Nope. They're great organizations to join, but they're not it. Okay, so let's go back. Do it again. Let's do that. So it's not that one. Forensic Science Foundation, American Society of Criminologists, American College of Examiners. C. So it's the American Society of Criminologists. It's more concerned with criminology rather than forensics. Okay. The others are more concerned with forensics. Remember what the question is. The United States versus Fry established standards for admissibility scientific evidence. True. I remember that when I was in law school. United States versus Fry is commonly known as the general exception test and allows the admissibility of scientific evidence. The two key elements are acceptance from an identifiable scientific community and the proper procedures were followed. They're still used today. So that's how it operates in the court of law. So if you bring in something of that nature, it has to satisfy the general acceptance test. Blatant or official discrimination against women and minorities has been eliminated in employment practices in criminal justice. Now, this one, I usually mark false, but I know what the answer is they're going to say is true. And the reason why they say that is because when they say blatant discrimination, they're talking about discriminatory signs, written policies, and things like that. But then it does come back and recognize that there are latent discrimination and inequality. Additionally, homosexuals may also have joined the list of groups that face discrimination. So when it says that answer, you have to read it very carefully. Latent discrimination, such as we don't serve a certain race, or a certain sex, a certain nationality, those kind of things are not tolerable anywhere in the United States. And that's the end of this exercise. Okay? So then let's look at what technology does. Technology. Whoa, as I was telling you earlier, this case, Gardner versus U.S., which I'll be sending to you, technology has changed a whole lot. Probably the most revolutionary change, and they refer to it, is DNA. I can tell you for sure that when I first started practicing law, we wish we had DNA. But as you have been able to discover from the newspapers, from Facebook, and from news media sources, that the Innocence Projects in many jurisdictions have exonerated many individuals who were at first considered as guilty of a crime until the DNA evidence ruled them out. And so that was probably the most revolutionary change that has taken place in criminal justice. It says the first exoneration was done in 1989. Now, I was still practicing, but it wasn't that widely accepted. 17 of these persons were on death row. DNA has now been used to remove persons as likely suspects as well. So it is bettered our criminal justice administration. Technology has also opened up a lot of doors. A lot of crimes are taking place. You know what I'm talking about. Identity theft, cyber. There's even a certain major now people are becoming cyber cops dealing with hacking. Hacking is on almost a regular basis. Or if you have a Facebook page, you know exactly what I'm talking about hacking. But it doesn't just apply to Facebook. It involves anything that involves technology, computers, iPad, Android pads, cell phones, and so forth. Identity theft, child pornography over the internet, and just high-tech larceny. Bank accounts are being diverted, funds are being diverted. And so there's some good things and bad things. Terrorists are using it as well. But again, this case, Gardner versus U.S., and I'm going to recommend, depending on what the Supreme Court does in October with this case, and adding this as one of the cases to discuss in this class and a couple other classes that I teach. But technology is here, and it helps, and at the same time, it makes it more difficult. So now let's conclude by talking about the Criminal Justice Project. Now, the project itself, as it says, is going to be a 6 to 8 page paper. And you're going to have a critical issue. And in that critical issue, you're going to deal with, in very much detail, you're going to conduct some research. And this is how the project develops. Now, the project is not all due at one time. The final project is due week 10. But you can begin now to research critical issues that incite you to passion. I already kind of given you some ideas back up here. But again, maybe there's some other things. But make sure that you let me know what your project will be. Now, here's the deal. And I have rubrics that I've given to you regarding each of these weeks. Week 1 is introduction. There's no written assignment that has to be done. and it's just letting you know what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing. We're introducing you to what the project is all about, so you'll be well aware. Then in week two, you're going to choose your critical issue. And there'll be a written assignment which you will have to produce expressing what's your critical issue. And the written assignment gives the details. Again, I have a rubric for grading that. Week three, you prepare your outline and thesis. Notice that it's not darkened, so that's not submission. But don't wait until week 4 to do it. But keep working along the way. Allocate your time. Then you'll submit your rough outline and thesis. I actually have given you some information that I emailed you early on that gave you some ideas of what rough outlines and thesis look like. Then in week 5, you have an introduction and revised thesis, because when I finish grading these, your thesis, but you're still going to need to do in week 5, that following week, introduction and revise your thesis. Week 6, it says Wright. That's for you. That's you getting yourself more prepared. In week 7, annotated bibliography. I provided you information about what an annotated bibliography is all about. You should be able to refer to that. Your rough draft will be due of your paper in week 8, following the requirements that have been set out, okay? Then you'll be revising it, because I will send you a response back letting you know how your rough draft was, and that you need to be able to get ready for your week 10 final project. So that's the requirements for the project. Keep in mind these things: clear and concise and complete sentences, paragraphs, transitions between paragraphs, spelling, grammar, and punctuation. This is an academic paper. Research and analysis required throughout the paper. You're going to have at least 4 reliable sources on the internet, our college online library, or other source. But our online library has a lot of stuff. And you can do more than 4, but a minimum of 4. This is for your draft, as well as for your final paper. APA requirements, citing resources, but you should already know that, because I've already harped on that. And then that explains to you if you have trouble with APA. Each assignment is evaluated and graded independently. I've already provided you graded criteria for each one. Any other questions, contact me, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay? Now, before I conclude, let me go back just to show you what I'm talking about. Going to course messages, I sent to each of you the rubrics. The discussion rubric, that's how your discussion posts. The information on annotated bibliography. Writing your introduction. And, okay, you can disregard this for a while, the ACAT, but this is what I was talking about. Project rubric as well. An outline for how to do the thesis, and outline, I gave you that as well. So this is sent to each of you on the 4th of July, and you should take these and copy it and save them, because you're going to be utilizing them throughout the course. Okay. And that's it for the open house for today. I hope to see you guys next week when we go through week 2 and our first regular lecture. So with that, I'm going to say good night.